First generation. Speaking of the first legendary Pokémon, Freezer, Thunder, Fire and Mewtwo. That's right. Freezer, Thunder, and Fire are considered the three birds among Pokémon fans. You may even be called. In the first generation, they lived on Twin Island, Unmanned Power Plant, and Champion Road, respectively. There wasn't a particular reason for him to be involved in the story. He was in the position of being a formidable enemy that the protagonist could take on once he had gained strength. But Mewtwo has a solid story. You can see a diary about Mewtwo at the Pokémon Mansion in Glentown. Oh yeah, catch a new Pokémon in the jungle's mouth. I named the Pokémon from Shinhaken Mew. Mayu will give birth to a child. We're going to call Junior, who was just born, Mewtwo. Pokémon Mewtwo is too strong, it's no good for me. What about Guyana in South America? It used to be red, green, etc., but it was removed in the Peekaboo remake. That's right. In the movie Mewtwo Strikes Back, Mewtwo is genetically engineered to. There was a strong recognition that it was a Pokémon created from Mew's genes. It seems that it was written as Mew's child in the main game. Oh, so the story about being born through genetic manipulation is an original story in the anime? No, I'll stick to the original picture book explanation. For the sake of health, I kept changing the batteries. The setting seems to be similar, as it says, it has become a modern Pokémon. I see. This is the relationship between Mew and Mewtwo. In the movie, he has a direct confrontation with Mew and struggles to save Genesect. There were some really exciting developments, but I'll skip them this time. It would be interesting to see that kind of cross-generational connection in the main game as well. Also, in the first generation, what was the relationship between Freezer, Thunder, Fire, and Mewtwo? It was thought to be nothing special. Even in the 6th generation XY, these four bodies often appeared in the Kalos region. Well, you could only catch one of the three birds with one software. I'm sure Mewtwo was in the Pokémon village. There is no particular mention of the strong connection between three birds and Mewtwo. Maybe there is some connection. Also, Freezer, Thunder, and Fire as Trio Master. There is Lugia that appeared in the 2nd generation. Oh, isn't that the original setting of the movie, The Birth of Lugia? Well, it's not really mentioned in the main game, is it? However, in the commercial of Kinjin's remake work, HGSS, these three birds and Lugia appear together. The name of the map where one of the three birds appears in XY is Sea God's Hole. The condition for Lugia's appearance in Daipa remake is to capture three birds. There are quite a few depictions that hint at some sort of connection. I see. Well, it's true that the master of the three birds is Lugia, and the master of the three dogs is Ho-Oh. It's well balanced and visually appealing, which is nice. Oops, you mentioned the three dogs first. Haha, sorry. So this time, we will introduce the legendary Pokémon that have appeared so far. Let's explain the connection with the mythical Pokémon. It seems like there are some relationships that are hinted at across generations. Oh, please enjoy it till the end. 2nd generation. Now let's talk about 2nd generation Pokémon. The so-called three dogs of semi-legendary Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. There was also the legendary Lugia and Huhu, and the mythical Pokémon Celebi. Oh yeah, icons representing 2nd generation Pokémon. In the case of Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, this is because they looked like dogs. It seems like they were grouped together as three dogs. The actual motifs are, I think Raikou is a tiger, Entei is a lion, and Suicune is a leopard. It seems that some people are saying that three cats is more appropriate than three dogs. It's true, if you think about it in terms of motifs, it might be true. Now, about the relationship between the three dogs and Ho-Oh. It was very well depicted in the main game as well. Yeah, there was a building called the Tower of Money in Enju City. It is said that it was destroyed in a fire 150 years ago. The three Pokémon that lost their lives at that time, Ho-Oh descended from the sky and brought him back to life. It is said that they took on the current forms of Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. For Raikou, the lightning that struck the tower, and for Entei, the flames that burned the tower. And it is said that Suicune contains the power of the rain that extinguished the tower. Hey, that's right. It seems that people who saw that great power feared Raikou and the others and even attacked them. However, perhaps it was because Raikou and the others understood the magnitude of their power. He reportedly left without fighting back. These three dogs are roaming all over the field. If you stay in one place, people might attack you, or that I might cause harm to others. Maybe there was a fear of certain people. If you think about it, the crystal version in remake works. Suicune, who was waiting for me with a bang, seems to be in good shape. Haha, for sure. Next, let's talk about the relationship with Lugia. In fact, Lugia is also said to be involved with the three dogs. In the main game, it is said that Lugia once lived in the Tower of Money. Lugia left the Tower of Money, the original form of the three dogs died, and Ho-Oh appeared there. That seems to be the trend. Also, in the official Pokémon 25th anniversary anime, Pokémon Evolutions. The reign of the power of the rain that extinguished the tower, that resided in Suicune. It turns out that it was rained down by Lugia. I see, Lugia was partly involved in the birth of the three dogs. Or rather, not only Huvu was there, but Lugia was there as well. In addition to sharing life-related settings with Ho-Oh, from depictions on packages and commercials, the sun and moon, day and night, sky and sea, etc. It can be seen that they are a counterpart in the details. I see. Now, I've put off the explanation of Celebi. However, Celebi has very little interaction with other Pokémon. Well, isn't that what most mythical Pokémon are like? Is that true? Suicune appears in the movie Encounter Beyond Time. This is not what Celebi called me. When I saw the dirty water, I said, I can't do this, oh yeah. However, in Zoroark, the champion of illusions, in addition to Raikou, Entei, and Suicune appearing as guardians of Crown City, there is a depiction that Celebi has arrived for the first time in 20 years. I wonder if these four bodies originally had a connection to the same place. Although there is no information that the two were doing anything, even in the main game, there may have been a relationship between the beings living in the same Johto. Third generation. Now let's talk about third generation Pokémon. Well, the semi-legendary ones are Latios and Latios. Also Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. And the legendary Pokémon are Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. Also, there are Jirachi and Deoxys as mythical Pokémon. That's right, Latios and Latios are inspired by the movie, Guardian of the Water City. They are often thought of as brothers, but in the main game, there is no depiction of them being brothers. However, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, because it is possible to meet the other one depending on the guidance of either one. They seem to be getting along well. From the looks of it, it seems like they are male and female individuals of the same species. Also, Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. More and more detailed information has been coming out on this subject in recent years. In the third generation, there was only information that people who feared them, locked them up. Regigigas, which appeared in the fourth generation, is a Pokémon created by this guy. First it became clear, I'll talk to Regigigas about the details. The cashiers are created with a giant motif. According to legend, Arceus used it as the power of the heroes he defeated. There was a plate that changed Arceus type. According to ancient legend, these three were also defeated by Arceus. That's what it is. Speaking of cash registers, new cashiers and cashiers have also appeared in the 8th generation. You could say that they have a sibling relationship. If you think that every child is a Pokémon created by Regigigas. It's definitely like a family. Now, let's talk about the legendary Pokémon Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. This was explained in great detail in the main game. Groudon expands the land, Kyogre expands the sea. I feel like Rayquaza was monitoring it from the sky as a coordinator. Lately, I've been processing meteorites and fighting Pokémon lurking there. It also plays a role in preserving the ozone layer. Well, Rayquaza is too difficult. That's true, it's too hard work. And hello comes from that meteorite. It's the mythical Pokémon, Deoxys. That kind of thing. Deoxys is described in the encyclopedia as follows. The DNA of a space virus that was exposed to laser radiation mutated and was born. Wait, maybe that laser was emitted by Rayquaza? I can't confirm that information in the main game, though. However, according to the encyclopedia's explanation, Rayquaza usually lives in the ozone layer. In other words, there's a possibility that he usually meets this Deoxys. Rayquaza, who is working hard after one surgery, and Deoxys, who was born as a mutation and lives a carefree life. Rayquaza is tough. It's true. Also, Jirachi is also said to have Tanabata as a motif since it says, Tanzaku, in the encyclopedia description. Considering that the Milky Way is visible in the night sky, Jirachi also seems to have something to do with space. Well, this is also a fantasy, and the relationship with other Pokémon is not visible in the main game. The encounters that the main character encounters in the main game are not expected in normal play. I don't think a story based on illusions will be created. That's right, 4th generation. Now, let's explain the 4th generation. It's going to get busy from here. The number of Pokémon increases all at once. Therefore, there are things that you can't really see that are related to other Pokémon. I'm going to cut it off in a few words, so keep that in mind. Meanwhile, Heatran was crawling on the ceiling with his cross-shaped claws digging into it. Yes, this concludes the explanation of Heatran. More. There's no such thing as the stock of Heatran's story. Well, first of all, it's the 4th generation legendary type. Semi-legendary Uxie, Agnom, Emrit, Cresselia, Heatran, and Regigigas. And the legendary Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. There are also phantoms like Manaphy, Phione, Shaman, Darkrai, and Arceus. No, there are already too many. First up is Uxie, Agnom, and Emrit. These guys also seem to function as beings that control Dialga and Palkia. It is said that by combining the power of the three, they can demonstrate a power comparable to Dialga and Palkia. When the balance of the gods is disrupted, they come out of the lake and create red flowers. It seems to have a calming role. The main part of the game is about that power being forcibly extracted by Team Ginga. If there is only one Dialga or Palkia, three can work together to control it. There seems to be a power relationship where once the two of them are together, they can't be touched. I see. Dialga is said to control time, Palkia controls space, and Giratina controls the world of antimatter. These three bodies are said to have been born at the same time. Actually, he was created as Arceus' alter ego. They say it all begins with one egg. Arceus was born from there, and by the three bodies created as clones, it seems that the universe has been created. By the way, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. In the event at the Sinto ruins that can be seen when you are accompanied by Arceus. You can get either Dialga, Palkia, or Giratina each at level 1. Maybe they were reenacting the birth of the three bodies. Arceus is the Pokémon that is said to have created the world. Mew is said to have the genes of all Pokémon. Maybe Arceus is the creator of the world and Mew is the origin of Pokémon. I see. There was some debate in the past about whether it started with Mew or Arceus. If you think about it that way, there will be no contradiction and it will be easier to understand. Now, Arceus can have a plate in the game. This plate represents the power of the defeated Kyojins. It was revealed that it was sealed. Were Regiae and Regireki the giants sealed away by Arceus? It seems possible to think that. Or another Titan has been defeated. Maybe Regigigas created the cashier system out of nostalgia for them. So, there was no normal plate at the 4th generation stage. Finally appearing in the 8th generation Legends Arceus. Moreover, it has a close relationship that you can obtain it immediately after capturing Regigigas. The reason is that what appears to be a connection with Arceus has become more apparent. That's right. Maybe Regigigas' characteristic, slow start. Maybe it's because he got torn apart in the battle with Arceus? Well, the possibility may not be negligible. Well, let's move on. The semi-legendary Cresselia and the Phantom Darkrai are Pokémon associated with dreams. It is said that Cresselia brings happy dreams and Darkrai brings nightmares. However, Darkrai itself doesn't seem to have any malicious intent, and doesn't seem to have any intention of causing others pain. That's why he lives alone, not trying to interact with anyone. It might be a relief to have a kind person to act as a companion. Also, Shaman is a thank you, and Manaphy and Phione are Pokémon related to the sea. These are also mythical Pokémon, so their relationship with the others is weak. I think we should talk about the special connection between Manaphy and Phione. Phione will hatch from the egg you find after depositing Manaphy in Metamon. Apparently this is an individual with the qualities of a king among Phione's race. It's possible that he's just recognized as Manaphy. Maybe it's a relationship like Diancie and Maleshi. By the way, Phione is said to be a degraded version of Manaphy. In the Heart Gold, Soul Silver minigame, Pokethlon, it seems to have better stats than Manaphy. Phione, you have an aptitude for this kind of thing. I'm really glad I had a chance to work there. Well, this is what the 4th generation looks like. Huh, is that really all there is to Heatran? That's why I told you, I don't have any more Heatran stories in stock. Or, too sad. Apparently it's from the fireball that spilled out when the Sinnoh region was created. A being born with Hard Mountain. There is a story that it was sealed off with a Kazan no Okishi, to prevent an eruption. That's it. That's what I wanted to hear. Well, that doesn't mean that the relationship with other Pokémon will increase. I'm so lonely. 5th generation. Now let's talk about the 5th generation. Semi-legendary Pokémon are Torneros, Voltros, and Landorus. Cobalion, Terrakion, Virizion. Legendary Pokémon are Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem. And the mythical Pokémon are Victini, Keldeo, Meloetta, and Genesect. Well, it keeps increasing. Now, where should I introduce it first? What about the old men who have added one more friend? Can you please stop calling me uncle? So, brother? No, isn't it your brother? Well, Torneros, Voltros, and Landorus are each. It's a Pokémon that rules over storms, thunder, and fertility, right? Oh yeah, when Torneros and Bortoros ransacked the houses and fields of Unova, Landorus, the god of fertility, appears. It is said that he disciplined the two and made them quiet for a while. But I'm sure that the power of Landorus's fertility can also be used to control the winds of Torneros and the thunder of Boltros. Since they are created by incorporating them, all three are indispensable for fertility. That's right. In addition to these three, there is a new, semi-legendary Pokémon named Lovetoros who rides on a cloud. Appeared in Legends Arceus. Landorus is associated with autumn because of its fertility. Levitros is said to be the god of spring. There seems to be a legend that Jade appears in the Jade region with the arrival of spring and sprouts new life. Along with Levitros, these three bodies also appeared in the Jade region. The Jade region is the old version of the Sinnoh region. There may be some connection with the Pokémon of the Sinnoh region. I see. Speaking of Pokémon that appeared in other regions, Cobalion, Terrakion, Virizion, and Keldeo too. In addition to the Unova region, it also appeared in the Galar region. I guess so. They were born from the wars caused by people in the Unova region. It is said that he played an active role in protecting Pokémon. With Torunellos who are involved in climate and plant growth, his name remains as a hero to Pokémon. There is a contrasting aspect to Cobalion and the others. So, Keldeo is a Pokémon that lost its parent in that war. Instead, these three bodies, also known as Sacred Swordsmen, will act as parents. It is said that he imparted wisdom on how to survive, so it looks a little younger than the three. Also, since there are three semi-legendary Pokémon each, it is sometimes considered whether one is the ideal, and the other is the truth. So far, there doesn't seem to be any official information on this. Cobalion are the ones who guide the Pokémon. Well, maybe it's an ideal existence. So, about the ideal Zekrom and the true Reshiram. This is written in great detail in the story. A Pokémon that appears in the myth of the founding of Unova. Reshiram is the twin brother who seeks the truth, and Zekrom is the younger brother who seeks the ideal. Each of them is said to have lent their power to make the world a better place. But then, who exactly is Kyurem? I'm sure it can be combined with Reshiram and Zekrom, right? Oh yeah, Kyurem can combine with each of the two bodies by using the installation wedge. This was originally created when Kyurem was a certain dragon Pokémon that separated into Reshiram and Zekrom. The reason seems to be that it is a dragon that controls the void that is discharged as leftovers. Does that mean he's incorporating Reshiram and Zekrom to fill his empty body and mind? No details have been explained about this original dragon Pokémon until the announcement of Legends ZA. If the next Legends work is released, I think the complete Kyurem will decorate the package. I was even told things like, complete appearance before separation into Reshiram and Zekrom. I want to see it. I hope I have a chance to meet you someday. Now, the rest are Victini, Meloetta, and Genesect. Well, since they are in the Phantom category, I guess they don't have much relation to other Pokémon after all. That's right, Victini is a short Pokémon. It is said that the trainer who brings Victini with him will be rewarded with victory. It is said that it can generate infinite energy within its body, and can share its power with anyone it touches. If it means giving life force, it's similar to Xerneas, Celebi, and Landorus. I'm sure. Meloetta is a Senritsu Pokémon. Meloetta's melodies have the power to freely manipulate the emotions of those who hear them. Although there is no special tradition, it seems like he was a great inspiration to musicians. It seems like there are some famous songs that were created with the help of Meloetta. I couldn't find any relationship between these two Pokémon and other Pokémon. Genesect had similarities with other Pokémon. Genesect was originally a Pokémon reconstructed from fossils. It was modified by Team Plasma and a cannon turret was attached to it. In the sense that it is a Pokémon created by human hands. It's a Pokémon that seems to be related to Mewtwo, Magearna, and type Null. The way they are made is different, but they all have one thing in common. You can see people's work. 6th generation. Now, let's move on to the 6th generation of Pokémon. Legendary Pokémon are Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. And the mythical Pokémon include Diancie, Hoopa, and Volcanion. Let's start with the legendary Pokémon. Xerneas gives life and Yveltal takes life. And I recognize it as Zygarde who protects order. That's pretty much it. Xerneas is the being who controls life and regeneration. In terms of vitality, it might be similar to Celebi and Victini. Also, in terms of controlling lifespan, I was able to revive a Pokémon that had lost its life. There are probably some similarities with Ho-Oh. But what about Xerneas, giving life? That's right. Xerneas has an eternal lifespan due to his infinite life energy. It is said that those who are given it can also become immortal. The man who was actually affected by the ultimate weapon that used this power was. Although it's not eternal life, he became a long-lived grandfather who lived for over 3,000 years. You give too much. It seems that just by being around it, all the flowers and plants regain their vitality. No, it's not Shishigami-sama anymore. They look a little similar. So, Yveltal is a being who rules over death and destruction. When it reaches the end of its lifespan, it sucks the life of all the living things around it. It transforms into an egg-shaped cocoon called cocoon mode, with its wings and neck folded, and appears to go into a long sleep. The tree of rebirth and the cocoon of destruction. And Zygarde is monitoring these two bodies. When XY first appeared, there was no particular activity seen. I wonder if this guy, who is inferior to the other two in terms of race value, can really play a supervisory role. It seems that there were many doubts. In fact, Zygarde that can be seen in XY is only 50% form. There was a truth that 100% perfect form is really cool. That's right, in the sense of acting as a balancer between the two. In terms of position, it may be similar to Rayquaza. Rayquaza and Zygarde serve as watchdogs. I think it can be divided into Giratina and Kyurem, who become problem children. Also, it seems that Zygarde's surveillance targets are quite wide. In the subsequent 7th generation, Ultra Beasts also appeared in Alola, where they rampage. I wonder if they came out because they were worried that the Ultra Beasts' rampage would disrupt the order. It seems possible. As for mythical Pokémon, as usual, there are almost no connections between them. Diancie is officially revealed to be a mutant type of Molessi. It is also famous as the only mythical Pokémon to Mega Evolve. It was said that Manaphy and Fione might have a similar relationship. Oh yeah, Hoopa freely connects two spaces through the golden ring he holds. You can summon Pokémon from the other side. It feels like there's a door everywhere. It's a power that's likely to anger Palkia-san, who controls space. Volcanion creates a steam explosion that blows away mountains and forests and changes the terrain. It seems that in ancient times it was thought to create land, because it changes the topography with great force. Regigigas, who is said to have pulled the continent, and Groudon, who expanded the land. I feel a similar atmosphere. That's certainly true. In the southwestern part of the Kalos region, Volcanion is used as a nation-building Pokémon. There seems to be a custom of worshipping it. Also, it seems that Volcanion has been seen not only in Kalos, but also in Sinnoh and Johto. Hey, I might have had a chance to meet Heatran, Entei, and Suicune. 7th generation. Now, let's move on to the 7th generation of Pokémon. I will omit the individual explanation of Ultra Beast this time. The number is going to be huge. Semi-legendary names are Kapu Kokeko, Kapu Tedif, Kapu Bururu, and Kapu Lehire. Type. There are Null and Silvati as well. The legend includes Cosmog and Cosmoem, as well as Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma. There are Magearna, Marshadow, Zeraora, Meltan and Melmetal in the illusion. It's full again. The Kapu type exists as a guardian deity of Alola. In the event of an actual crisis caused by Ultra Beasts, they were fighting together with the Island Kings. Yeah. Type. Null is a Pokémon created by the Ether Foundation. If you look at this, it's similar to Mewtwo, Genesect, and Magearna. There seems to be a lot in common. However, actually this type, Null, you can tell that it was created with the aim of becoming a perfect being like Arceus. Come to think of it, there might have been a large amount of memory that could change the type. Maybe that was an analogy to Arceus Plate. That's probably very likely. And that type, Silvati, is the form that evolved by deepening the bond with Null. Gladion is said to be the person who named it. Isn't that a good name? Although it is a Pokémon made by human hands, Salvation is properly prepared in the main game in terms of bonds with people. It feels so good to watch. That's certainly true. Now let's move on to the legendary Pokémon. Solgaleo and Lunala are evolved beings of Cosmog and Cosmoem. Cosmog will evolve into Cosmoem, and Cosmoem will evolve into either of these. Evolving legendary Pokémon. I was really surprised at the time. Solgaleo controls the sun and Lunala controls the moon. Regarding Necrozma, no detailed explanation was given in Sun, Moon. It is said that it covered Alola in ancient times and was cancelled out by the light of people and Pokémon. It was even pointed out that it was related to the legend of Darkness. However, he still had about 3 transformations left. Haha, that's right, I will omit the details of each figure. Unlike Kyurem, who absorbed Reshiram and Zekrom and merged with them. It has a form that looks like it was parasitic on Solgaleo or Lunala. Absorb the light energy of legendary Pokémon. It seems that Necrozma's hunger continues to be satisfied. Kyurem, Reshiram, and Zekrom were originally one Pokémon. It wasn't impossible to fuse though. Necrozma's Twilight Mane and Red Wings. It must have felt a little painful. The form that this Necrozma changed to after gaining more light is Ultra Necrozma. I don't want to say much because I'm sure everyone knows how strong it is. Seen in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire 1 generation ago. In a different form from Genshikaiki and Mega Evolution. It looks like the legendary Pokémon has been strengthened tremendously. Even in the next 8th generation, legendary Pokémon underwent incredible changes. I like that it has an increasing sense of mysterious presence. The battle was extremely difficult though. And then there's the introduction to the mythical Pokémon. Magearna is a Pokémon created by humans, as I have said several times. Type. Not inhuman like Null or Genesect. It was created from scratch using tricks. However, bioenergy must be brought from Pokémon. It has a soul heart on its chest. which is created by collecting the bioenergy of Pokémon. It seems like an artificial soul is embedded in it. I'm sure this soul heart is also a characteristic of Magearna, right? Every time a Pokémon on the field falls, your special attack increases by 1 stage. If you think of using the dying state of others as your own energy source, that's a pretty bad trait. Yeah, sure, the shape of the arm that is deployed to perform the technique is. It reminds me of the poisonous flower of the ultimate weapon that once bloomed in the Kalos region. However, the relationship between Magearna and the Kalos region is unknown. Maybe this will be explored in depth in Legend ZA? I'm looking forward to it. Now, next is Marshadow. It has the ability to assimilate with shadows and is similar in nature to Gengar. However, you can learn the movement and power from the owner of the shadow and make it your own, interfering with the minds of people and Pokémon through the shadows. It seems that there is also a cheat-like aspect that is typical of mythical Pokémon. When it comes to mental interference, it reminds me of Uxie's. When I hear the word shadow, I think it might be related to Giratina or Darkrai. Well, it's not said that there is any particular connection in the main game. Zeraora is an electric-type Pokémon that seems to be based on the Thunder Beast. Captures electrical energy from outside and stores it in the body. It looks like you can use it as your own electrical energy. Isn't that why you have a power-generating organ in your own body? Unfortunately, Zeraora's relationship with other Pokémon cannot be confirmed. It was a Pokémon added in Ultra Sun and Moon. It may have been difficult to create relationships with existing Pokémon. The other ones are Meltan and Melmetal. This is the first time I've seen a mythical Pokémon that evolves. There are a lot of evolutions in the 7th generation. It first appeared in Pokémon Go, and its evolution was also possible on Pokémon Go. Perhaps that's why there isn't any particular tradition in the main game. Maybe it's because of its position as a purely rare Pokémon. By the way, it is said that when a certain number of Meltons are assimilated, they will evolve into Melmetal. At the end of its lifespan, its body rusts and falls apart. It seems that new Meltan will be born from those small pieces. In a sense, it can be called eternal life. I see, this is definitely a phantom class. 8th generation. Now on to the 8th generation. The semi-legendary is Decuma and Eulaus, Regireiki and Regidrago. Also, Freezer, Thunder, and Fire in the form of Galar. Blizzapos, Ricepos, Levitros. No, it's too much. Haha, sure, the legendary Pokémon are Zacian, Zamazenta, Mugandina, and Badrex. The mythical Pokémon is Zarude. Let's start by talking about the Pokémon mentioned earlier. Regireiki and Regidrago are thought to be Pokémon created by Regigigas. Well, if everything goes smoothly, I guess so. In particular, Regidrago was only able to make a head due to lack of energy. First of all, it is said that Regigigas is definitely the creator since it is also mentioned in the picture book explanation. Dragon energy is rare. Levitros is the 4th figure after Torneros, Boltros, and Landoros. Appeared in Legends Arceus. Their respective Reiju forms are Suzaku for Torneros and Seryu for Bortoros. Because Landoros resembles a white tiger, and Levitros resembles Genbu, it is said that the motif is the 4 gods. By the way, these 4 gods are also said to govern the north, south, east, and west. There is a Kirin, as a being located in the center. Maybe one more will be added. It's something I'm looking forward to. About the 3 birds of Galar. Like Digda and Umi Digda. Although they look similar, it is said that there is no particular relationship with the original species. The type is completely different, and Mewtwo hasn't even appeared on the field. In particular, I can't find anyone to unite these guys. It doesn't seem to have much to do with other legendary Pokémon. Next, let's introduce Decuma and Eulaus. Master Mustard gives you Decuma as a secret armor. This Pokémon also seems to have a strong aspect of being a rare Pokémon that does not live in Galar. There are no particular myths or legends. It seems to be the type of Pokémon that has become more common these days. And Blizzapos and Ricepos. While these 2 creatures possess great power, they also seem to have been a nuisance, destroying the Konmuri snowfield area. It was subdued by the Fertility King at the time. It is said that it was a beloved horse that served as a source of strength for the king for a long time. Mr. Landoris. This is different. Just like the fertility god of Unova is Landoris. It is said that there was also a king of fertility who was rooted in the land of Konmuri Snowfield. That existence is Badrex. Alone, it can only demonstrate unreliable strength. By becoming Jinbai Hatai, with Blizzapos or Ricepos, I will demonstrate incredible strength. Yes, I am well aware of that power. After all, it is a presence that is rooted in the region, such as fertility and the guardian deity of the land. It might be easier to make such a presence appear. That's right. So let's talk about Zacian, Zamazenta, and Mugandina. Zacian and Zamazenta appear together at the climax of the story. Zacian is like Zamazenta's older sister. It's clearly indicated in the encyclopedia description. Just like that, I felt like we were always together. It doesn't seem like they're completely the same kind of beings like Latios and Latios though. They have the same dog-like face, so they may be close. Because he took metal and turned it into weapons and used his great power to save Galar along with the Human King. Also known as the legendary hero. So, those two bodies will face each other in the main part of the game. Mugandana is a being called the Black Knight in folklore. He was sleeping inside the meteorite, but woke up when Chairman Rose gave him a wish bomb. Donde and the main characters rushed to the scene where he lost control and started to drive out of control. Once you defeat Mugandana, it is called Mugen Dynamax. The battle begins again with incredible strength. It seems that he took on this form by absorbing a large amount of Dynamax energy. It is said that it can be awakened by wishing Iboshi, and that it originally fell asleep in the form of a meteorite. It is also said that Mugandana is also a Pokémon related to space. Does that mean he may have known Rayquaza, Deoxys, and Jirachi in the past? You can imagine Rayquaza taking care of Mugandana, who is in a meteorite state. Will Rayquaza's work increase again? Lastly, I would like to introduce Gerudo, a mythical Pokémon. The vines that grow on its body seem to have the power to grow forest plants. This one is also a Pokémon related to nature, although no mention is made of its relationship with other Pokémon, with Celebi, Landorus, Badrex, and Xerneas. I think we can get along well. 9th generation. The introduction is finally coming to an end, and the last one is the 9th generation. I will omit the introduction of the usual Paradox Pokémon this time. Yes, that means the quasi-legendaries are Chajun, Taojong, Dinglu, and Yiyui of the Four Disasters. Tomoko's Iininu, Mishimashira, Kichikigisu, and maybe Ogapin. The legendary Pokémon are Koraidon, Miraidon, and Terrapagos. Only one more Paradox Pokémon left. Unal Minamo, Takaru Reiko, Ugatsu Homura. I should also mention Tetsuno Isaha, Tetsuno Kashira, and Tetsuno Iwao. Wow, there are so many. The only mythical Pokémon is Momowaro. Yeah. First, let's talk about Paradox Pokémon. Unal Minamo, Takaru Reiko, and Ugatsu Homura are ancient. Tetsuno Isaha, Tetsuno Kashira, and Tetsuno Iwao are the Paradox Pokémon of the future. The ancient Paradox Pokémon are Suicune, Raikou, and Entei. Future Paradox Pokémon will be Virizion, Cobalion, and Terrakion. They all look similar, right? However, is the Paradox Pokémon itself really an ancient or future creature? There are some aspects of uncertainty. For example, the three dogs were created 150 years ago by Ho-Oh. It is said to have been revived from another Pokémon. If so, they looked very similar to them in ancient times. Isn't it a little strange that Unal Minamo and others are here? Oh, sure, well, I can't say anything about the relationship with the original species at this point. Maybe new information will come out. It might be best to just sit back and wait while thinking about it. I see. So, speaking of semi-legends in the Paldea region, it is definitely the four calamities. Each of these four figures was a tool that a merchant brought to the king in the past. It is said that each person's emotions, such as resentment or fear, were imbued with them and they became Pokémon. Chajun is Makin, Pauzian is Sarugi. Lahore Sensei said that Dinlu was bored and Yiyui was bored. There is no information that they had any relationship with each other. Because of the fact that the characteristics are neatly aligned and the special techniques are shared, maybe there is a feeling that we are comrades, who were born at the same time and in the same place. About Motoko, Ogapin, and Momowaro. There's a lot of information in the game itself and official videos, so I'll omit it. Just in terms of relationships, all of them are Pokémon that came from outside of Kitakami Village. It wasn't like he was the guardian deity of Kitakami Village or anything like that. Well, all because the main character caught them. Tomoko and Momowaro also reformed. Maybe things will become like that in the future with Ogerpon. Now let's talk about Koraidon and Miraidon. They are also a type of Paradox Pokémon. It was revealed from the mouths of Pokémon professors Orimu and Futu. A Motolizard that coexists with humans as a ride Pokémon in the modern Paldea region. It is said to be its ancient or future form. Oh yeah, they are also not the type of Pokémon that have legends or myths. Rather, by spending time with the main character from the beginning of the adventure, it could be said that the story of this work was to follow their process of becoming legends. In the 7th generation, I was jealous of Lily who could travel with Cosmog. I was really happy when I found out that the role had finally fallen to the main character. At this time, there is no connection with other legendary Pokémon. There is no particular relationship with the four disasters. However, if the main character went to pull out the stake after reaching the ending, it is said that Koraidon and Miraidon quelled the revived disaster. A new legend might have been born by the hands of the protagonists. That's super hot. Finally, I would like to introduce Terrapagos. This is said to be the original Pokémon of Terrastar. The origin of Dynamax is Mugen Dyna. The origin of Terrastar is Terrapagos. Meta-wise, it's a Pokémon that provides the rationale for each battle system. Maybe it will happen, because it usually sleeps as a small crystal that can be held in Gooseberry's hand. It is hard to imagine that there was a relationship with other Pokémon. In the anime, he seems to be actively moving about various things. Does that mean Terrapagos is also a lonely existence in the main game? That's the case for now. Well, it's a Pokémon that just appeared. To borrow the words of Mr. Lahore, as this area gets old, I think we can see various relationships. That's true. I'm looking forward to it, Ed. So, I will introduce semi-legendary, legendary, and mythical Pokémon that have appeared so far. That's all for the explanation of each relationship. Existences that have a strong relationship with nature and life. It turns out there are quite a few, including Shaman, Landorus, and Bedrex. But there is still depth. The creation of the universe starting from Arceus. The story is that Regigigas created the cashiers. There are as many plates as there are types. It seems like new cash register systems will continue to emerge. SV still has a short history, but it is similar to Pokémon from other series. It will be interesting to see more and more connections. There are many different opinions on the relationship between Pokémon. Are you curious about which Pokémon are connected? If you like, please let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe to the channel and give it a high rating. Well then, thank you for watching.